Hey, what is going on? My name is Norbert and welcome to another web tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to learn about React Router. Now, in order to learn about it, we're going to create a simple website which is going to have four web pages. It's going to have a home page, a about page, a portfolio, and a contact page. And also a navigation which is going to navigate us to each of these different pages, but without reloading the browser itself. Okay, so let's take a look at the project. So we're going to have our home page. Up here, we're going to have our navigation, which is basically going to lead us to the about page, a portfolio page, and our contact page. Now, a quick note, as you can see, when I click on any of these links, it's not reloading up here anything. I also have a different project. For example, this is using only HTML and CSS. As you can see, if I click on the About page, take a look up here, you can see it just loaded another page. If I go back to the home page, it loads again and we have another page. Now, why are we doing it with the React, or why is it so helpful? Well, because it's more efficient and it's much quicker. It's not getting data from the server each time we navigate to another page. Now we're back in our React lab. It's actually just switching the data out. It's all already loaded. Okay, and last thing, I'm also going to use a React hook called useLocation. This is the React from the React DOM, which is basically going to do the following thing. You can see down here we don't have any footer. If I click on the About page, the footer will appear and the header will disappear. Now, this is not only because I'm loading another page, it's actually watching if for a condition, and the condition will be if we're not on the home page, then only then will the footer be displayed. So you can see the footer is displayed on each three of these pages, but not on the home page. So if we navigate back to our home page, the footer is not displayed. As I said, we're going to use a React hook called useLocation. Now, we are also going to use Materialize CSS and Unsplash to get these images. The entire code, as always, will be down in the description below, so you can just go ahead and download it or copy it and follow along if you wish, if you don't wish to just code along. Now, last thing before we get into the project, if you're new to the channel, then consider subscribing. I'm posting new content on a weekly basis. Also, if you like my video, hit that thumbs up. It really helps out the algorithm. Also, share it with others. And if you have any kind of questions or suggestions, please leave them down in the comment sections below. So, with this being said, let's get into the project. Okay, so before I'm going to create our React app, let me just show you quickly something. Here we have, let me actually close it up. On the left side, I already have in my browser a basic HTML page. So we have our index. This index contains our link to Materialize, our link to the app CSS, and our link to our navigation as markup, our header, which is this. So let's also open it up using live server. So there's our header, there's our navigation up here, and here's our footer. Basically, if we do this using HTML, and I'm constantly going to reference this part right here, we need to do a couple of things. We need to have an index page. This index page, as you can see, has a navigation in it. The navigation, so each one of these links will send us to another page. Normally this is done using HTTP request, but in this case, we are sending it directly to the ./about.html, which is within here. So this is another page. It also needs to contain, so if I go to about, it also needs to contain, again, the navigation and the footer down here. So each time, oops, it shouldn't be in there. Each time we're creating or we're sending actually to a completely new page. And when we're going to use React, you will see we don't need to recreate all of this. We just need to create components. And these components will be composed of navigation, of pages, and so far and so on. So I just wanted to keep this as a reference to what exactly the difference is between using the React router and using it this way, or using it as HTTP requests. Actually, not HTTP, but it's PHP. Sorry about that. So, okay, let's get started with the project. And I'm just going to create another folder. Let's call this HTML. I'm going to grab onto everything and just drag it and drop it in there. Okay, this is going to break this, no problem. We also don't need it anymore. What we will need is this React app. And now let's get started by installing React app. So first things first, we're going to install React app, and until it installs, so let's open up the terminal. I'm going to explain what React Router is. So let's open up a terminal. So let's create our React app using npx. We're going to create it locally, create React -app, and we're going to call it React -router website. Okay, now until this is installing, I'm going to talk about React Router a bit. So what is React Router? The React Router is actually a collection of navigational components that compose declarative within your application. So whether you want to have a bookmark, a URL bookmark in a web application, or a composable way to navigate through your application, React Router will work wherever it is rendered. Now, obviously, you need to have Node.js installed and npx, and I will leave a link in the description below to each of them. Actually, Materialize, Unsplash, Node.js, everything is in the description below, and the entire code, as always. Okay, so now that this is finished, all we need to do now is install React Router, and we're going to use npm I for install, and then React -router -dom. And now this should be installed within our package JSON. Okay, now let's start our server, npm start. And yes, because I need to stop the other server. It's npm start. Okay, so now that we have our application installed, we can now move on and delete a couple of things. So first of all, I don't need this test, app test.js. I don't need this, the report, and I also don't need the index. So all we need are app.js, index.js logo, because I'm going to use this, and the app CSS. And in the app CSS, I'm actually going to copy in the CSS. You can download from the description below, because I don't want to waste too much time styling this and so forth and so on. Okay, so I'm just going to take all of my app CSS, copy it in. Basically, here's the entire style for our web page, then later on. Next up, let's move on into our app.js. And within here, we don't need, let's just see, don't need this logo SVG. And we don't need anything that's in the header. And also we don't need the class of app. Let's save this, and our application should now break. Okay, you're missing the index.js. I know. Because within here, you're also index, don't need this, we don't need this. Index CSS, we don't need you. And now it should work again. Okay, so let's just type in here an h1. Oh yeah, I need to set my JS to React in order for Emmet to work. So h1, hit enter, hello, to else. Okay, so there we have it. Now let's move on to our public and index.html, and within here I'm going to copy in our link for Materialize CSS. So if you go to Materialize CSS, the link is down in the description below. Click on Get Started, and I'm going to copy this link right here. I'm going to paste it in right here. That's all we need. Okay, we can also take out these comments. We don't need this. We don't need you and you there, buddy. Let's hit save, and our application should still work. But as you can see right now, we already have a different font style, and we also have margins and paddings taken out. Okay, and we also don't need you. Boom. So we can close up our index.js, we can close up our CSS. All we need are our index.html. All we need is our app.js. Now let's create two more folders within our source. The first folder will be pages, and then a second folder will be components. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to create a navigation for this. Wait a second, why are you so large? Let's move you a bit to the left and a bit to the right. Okay, so let's go ahead and in our components, let's create a new file called nav with a capital N, nav.js. Let's use rafce to import our arrow function, and within here we're going to create our navigation. So instead of this div, we're going to use a nav tag. And now let's go into Material CSS. Let's go to Components, and from Components we're going to choose a nav. I believe I've chosen this one, so I'm just going to copy this one right here, paste it in. And if we go back to our React, we also need to import it. So app, and instead of this h1, I'm going to have our nav, which we'll need to import. So nav, we're going to import our nav from components.nav and use a component now within our div. So you go in here, and there we go, there's our navigation. Now a couple of things we still need to modify here. So instead of the color, I'm going to also paste in here another class of bg-prime, which is going to take a CSS color that I have in my app CSS. Then all over the place where we have class, we need to transform this into class name. So I'm going to select all of them, and instead of class, we have class name. I'm going to push our logo to the left side by using here a class of left. And this is basically materialize classes. We're going to replace the logo with Norbert BM. Now for the UL here, actually I'm going to take out this hide on media because I don't want it to take effect on a mobile phone. Okay, and this three I'm just going to replace with about. Instead of says, going to have about, then portfolio instead of components, and contact instead of JavaScript. Okay, so we have all three of them replaced. And now we can move on to creating our header down here. Okay, so in order to create a header, we need to, let me close all of this. Public, we don't need you. We need to create a page now. But this page will actually be loaded into the main page, so in the main app CSS, so I'm going to create it as a component. So let's go into components and create a page called header, a component called header.js. Now let's use here a React arrow function again. And right here, I'm going to import our logo SVG. So let's do here import, I'll just do a logo, a import of logo from, form from. I'm going to go to dot dot, we're going to need to go up and logo.svg, and this should import our logo. Okay, instead of the divs, we're going to have now a header tag, header, and within our header, we're actually going to just create our h1. I need to use React again. I'm just going to copy this in because this is just an h1 and the logo itself. So, did I miss the opening? Yep. Okay, so there we go. We just need now to import in our app.js. Underneath our nav, we're going to have our header. So let's import our header. Up here, we can type in header. You could automatically import it. And now just take this header and paste it in here. And now we have our header component. Okay, so there we go. So we just imported this header from our component. Now, next thing I'm going to create the pages, but I'm going to go really quickly through them. So don't waste any more time. So let's create 3 pages. One will be the about.js. I'm going to just copy them in, okay? They're simple pages with import export. So we're importing React and we're exporting this about page. Let's also link it up here. Let's also go into our navigation and say about. It's going to import about, and about will be then down here. I'm going to show you later on how this works. Next up, let's create our portfolio. So new page, portfolio.js. Going to copy in our portfolio.js. Again, this is just, we're just exporting a arrow function, okay, with the page. And the last one will be the contact. So contact.js. I'm going to copy in the contact page. Okay, so we have all three of them done. Now, how can we access them using React Router? Now, first of all, let's go to our navigation and import React Router. So within our navigation, I also need to import our home, not our home, our portfolio and our contact. Okay, now this is screaming at me because I'm using in our portfolio anchor tags. So because we're here, let me explain something. Let's go back to nav.js and first of all, import. Let's type in import. And we're going to import from the React Router DOM a couple of things. First of all, we're going to import the browser router. So browser router, we're going to import it as router. Now this is going to be our router. And what will this route? Well, it's going to route some routes. So we also need to import route. Now all of these routes will be in a switcher. So we're going to import switch. And instead of, as you can see, we're having here a problem, href attribute and so on and so on, because we cannot use anchor tags, we need to use links. So first of all, I typed in switch, yes, correctly, and we need to import link. Okay, so after we have all the we're missing here, comma. So after we have all four of them imported, let me show you now something. We have here anchor tag. We cannot use anchor tags. Instead of an anchor tag, we need to use the link tag. Also, when we're using link tags, we cannot use hrefs. We need to use the to argument. So to, and instead of this hash, we need to use a slash. So slash will be our home page. So let's replace all of these anchor tags with link. I'm just going to copy this. Okay, I'm going to replace you and the last one. And also everything that is a href, so I'm going to select all four of them, going to replace them with a to. Now also, we don't need this .html. Now we need to send it to slash, because we're in the same folder, then about. And you ask me, how can we in the same folder? Because the about page is actually in the pages. I'm going to show you this just in a moment. This is going to be to slash portfolio, and this is going to go to slash contact. Now, in order for this to work, we need to wrap it into this router. Okay, so let's create here the router, not the route, the router. I should have done this opening and closing tag and router. And we're going to wrap everything, so our entire navigation, we're going to wrap it into this router. Now, when we're routing something, we need to send it into a switch, because each time we're clicking on one of these components here, it actually switches out the component. You can already see up here, it's telling me that it's going to portfolio now, it's going to about, it's going to contact. Wait, contact, yeah, there we go. So still remaining within our router, we're going to now create a switch tag. So opening and closing switch tag. Now, if you ever used switch tags in JavaScript, you know that these depend on a condition. When a condition is true, then it's going to do something. When not, it's going to do the next thing, and it also has a default thing. Now, in our cases, our condition is actually a route. When a route, so when I click on this, when I click on the about, now it's sending me to about. Okay, so if about is true, so if the So if the route, let's create an opening and closing route tag. If the route has the path of slash, then we're going to go to the home page. So I'm just going to copy this 4 more times, because if the route has the path of about, so now it matches this, then we're going to send it to the about page, which we just imported up there. Okay, so we're sending it to this about page. So let's try it out. So if we click on about, well, it's not working because, why aren't you not working? Because it's still hanging there. So let me do all of them. When the path matches portfolio, then it should send me to portfolio. And when the path matches contact, then it should send us to the contact page. And it's still not working. Oh, because I forgot to match this exact. So the home page must always be matched exact. Okay, so as you can see, we are now loading all of our free pages, but our home page also is still being displayed. So how can we achieve that we do not display our home page and just the desired page, and also display our footer down here? So first of all, let's also create our footer. Let's go to components again. Let's create a new file here, call it footer. And within here, I'm just going to paste in the footer component, and then import our footer component into our app.js. So underneath of here, we have our footer, which actually should import it first of all. So import footer as a React component. Let's take our footer, open footer, close it up, and there we go. We also have our footer. So we only want to display the page that is selected. We don't want our home page to be displayed, and we also, when we are on a home page, we don't want our footer to be displayed. So let's create another page called home page. So within pages, let's create home.js. Let's import it. Within our home page, we're gonna import the header and the footer. So let's import header and footer. Let's do here a arrow function RACFCE. Go export home. And also we're going to use here the hook use location. So let's import use location from React Route DOM. The use location hook returns the location object that represents the current URL. You can think of this as use state. So in order to use this, we imported use location, and now we need to go into our function, assign it to a variable. So let's call this const location. I'm going to use here use location hook, open and close parenthesis. And basically, when we're returning a location, so down here, I'm just going to leave a fragment. I'm going to create a condition. So the condition will be if location dot path name matches the slash, so it's on the home page, then we want to display our header. If it does not match the home page, we want to display our footer. Okay, so simple as that. What am I doing here? And we don't need U2, and I'm missing here a slash. Okay, so basically we can now go back to our about. We can comment out footer and header, and now as you can see, if header, why are you not working? I'm missing something. Oh, I forgot to import it. So let's move on now to navigation. And within here, we can now import our home page. And basically, we need to use our home page. Delete you. We can now use our home page, for example, here in our slash. So this will be home. And also, we're going to include it now in each of our pages, or in each of our routes, because now it's going to always check for that condition. So we're currently on our home page. if we move to About, then check out this part and down here the footer. So if I click on About, then the homepage disappears and the footer appears. If I go to Portfolio, again, the header disappears and the footer stays there. Contact, the same thing. If I go back to our homepage, then our header appears again and our footer disappears. So, okay, so that's basically it. Hope you enjoyed the project. And if you did, thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. Please subscribe to the channel and share it with others. Leave a comment in the comment section below. And see you next time. Bye-bye.